Hello, ladies and gents. It is proclamation news and gatherance. It is the prodigious, the prominent professor at PNG. Thank you ever so much for coming through. It's Tuesday, the 22nd of June. Tuesday, the 22nd of June. We've had thunderstorms, weather storms. We've got some nice weather coming in the forthcoming weeks. We've got loads to get through today. Car incidents inside the UK. What's going on with COVID at the moment? Everyone had their second vaccination. I had my second vaccination today. I just want to thank the NHS. Now, a lot of these key workers that work in the NHS, especially working on the front line, giving out the vaccination, they're taking safety measures on board. The queuing system up for the vaccination. Very, very ethical, isn't it? Very professional. The way they handle everyone going in, keeping social distancing, washing your hands as you go in. It's very well. It's a very, very well run system throughout the NHS. I just want to thank everyone that's had their second vaccination, or the first, and they're thinking about going for the second. Well done to you guys. First of all, I want to give a shout out to my sponsors. Things that are good for your mental health. If you want to help better your aspirations in life, think about your mental health. What can you do to better your well-being? Zero alcoholism, zero narcotics. Check out relax-uk.com. Relax UK Limited, health, travel, and wellness products since 1997. You can check this online, relax-uk.com. UK relaxation shop selling various range of products from relaxation, travel, well-being, biofeedback, sleeping, and natural products. We're live on Castbox and YouTube, ladies and gents. I just want to thank you all for coming through. It means a lot. We're also sponsored by PSS Alarms. Fair, etiquette, and pragmatic works carried out. All areas are covered, including central station monitoring provided. All works done according to insurance requirements. It's a friend of mine's company. He's carried out works in Harry Kane's stepmother's house in Hertfordshire, Potter's Bar. He's carried out works in Essex, such as Casbah restaurant. It's been taken over by new owners. He's still there today doing this CCTV and all electrical works. So you can please call Tarek Khan. His contact details as follows. So make sure you got a phone number if you want this secure your business CCTV intruder alarms. Contact details 07908 07908 07908. The first five numbers are 07908. The last six numbers are 216142. That's 216142. Say again, 216142. 07908 216142. Ask to speak to Tarek Khan. Installation and maintenance of intruder alarms, fire alarms, CCTV. All works guaranteed and certified to SSAIB standards. 24-hour call-out service. Can provide CCTV for pubs, clubs, restaurants, or new business setups. Secure your business. Make sure you mention Professor Johnson for extra discount. Secure your home. Secure your business. Your safety and priority within your business are paramount. So think safety, think first. Secure your equity, ladies and gents. Make sure you also subscribe to our Castbox edition and our YouTube edition. You see me live on screen on YouTube feed. I just want to thank everyone for coming in, acknowledging the show. You're part of the Aristocracy elite because you are both preserved and observed within the show. Critical listeners, critical thinkers. Before you enter the UK roads or any roads around the world, think safety, think first. Do not enter your vehicle under the influence of alcoholism or narcotics or sleep deprivation. Checking your engine oil and your water coolant tank and make sure they're topped up to maximum level. Making sure your PSI limits are topped up to your PSI limits. Make sure you've got bold tyres. Making sure you and passengers on board have seatbelts on board and plugged in. Making sure your babies have seatbelts and a baby seat adjacent to the car seat, seatbelts on. Check out for police safety instructions. Check out for speed cameras. Check out for all the road safety awareness signs on the road. Try not to smoke or eat as you're driving your vehicle. Check before turning, acting in safe, sufficient directional choice. Check your centre and wing mirror, making sure motorcyclists are not overtaking. Make sure pedestrians are not on the two-can cross as you're about to cross the road, making sure they've got to cross the road before you emerge onto the road. It's a lot to think about as you enter the road, isn't it? Always take safety precautions. You can look at the road incidents today inside the UK. You can look in Southend, car incidents today, Southend on Sea, near Watford, on the A127, slow traffic in construction area. Prince Avenue, both ways at Watford Road. The bell traffic lights in the construction area, lanes closure is in place. 22nd of June, 8:30, that was reported, so there's still going to be traffic lights in the way. Basildon area, slow traffic in the construction area on the A127, Southend Arterial Road, eastbound between B148, West Main Junction and High Road, north. Fortune of War in the construction area. A lane closure is in place. 6:20 a.m. In Grays, A1089, partially blocked accident involving slow traffic. Due to accident, 2 lorries involved on the A1089 St Andrews Road both ways at Tilbury Docks. Sensors suggest that traffic is taking it in turns to pass. 10 a.m. first reported. It's an incident in Colchester. We're going to have a look. Colchester, Essex. Colchester, Essex is Will Quince's constituency. Will Quince, Conservative MP of Colchester. On the A133, slow traffic in construction area of St Andrews Avenue, both ways at Waitrose. In the construction area, lane closures are in place. 22nd of June 2021 at 11:15 a.m. Yesterday in Colchester constituency, I was in the town centre and people were protesting because we haven't gone back to normal. People want their, we were supposed to be going back to normal as of yesterday. So people in the town centre saying they want their normal, going back and their normal life, going back to reality. They want what they was ordered off the government. They was let down. Apparently, I feel like everything's back to normal anyway. On the A421, lane or lanes closed, emergency repairs, traffic open well. 1 lane closed due to emergency repairs on the A421 westbound near A4280, St Neots Road. Traffic is open well. Lane 1 of 2 is closed, heading towards the M1. Repairs are being carried out on the bridge following an accident last Friday. 5:20 a.m. That's up near Bedford, ladies and gents. One last incident I'll give up for you. Breachley near Milton Keynes. Maybe not. Maybe not, ladies and gents. In Ilford. Barking. Here we go. What do we have here? Barking. A406. Queuing traffic on A406 North Circle southbound at A13 Newham Way, Beckton roundabout. Reported on 22nd of June, which is today, at 11:05. There you go. Now we're going to get some new news. Let's see what's going on in Essex. See what provocation has been caused in Essex. What criminology has been going on in Essex. Essex forecast. Essex set for 24 Celsius temperatures after thunderstorms and rain batter the county. From July, Essex will see warm temperatures. Can't wait, can we? Can't wait. We've had that lovely bit of sun and then we've gone back to winter weather. Essex will be seeing blue skies and sunshine as temperatures are set to soar next month. New Net Weather's temperature charts show at the start of July, in the mercy of the east of England, which encompasses Essex, will reach the mid-20s after thunderstorms battered the country. For a couple of weeks, June has unseasonably chilly and thunderstorms poured down across much of England. And it seems that the rain is here to stay until the end of this month. Met Office meteorologist Alex Burkill said parts of the southern England could see 10 to 15 mil or even 20 mil in an hour today, report the Express. The total rainfall could reach 30 mil over 2 to 3 hours in the areas of Essex, as well as neighbouring counties in Kent and Sussex. Mr Burkill said the heaviest rain will be in the southeast, but partially because of the timing, the impacts aren't thought to be heavy enough to warrant a warning at this moment. Monday the 28th of June. There'll be more showery rain coming up from south, affecting the southern half of England. He continued on Tuesday, June the 29th. It's looking like a dry day, but more wet weather will come in the west-northwest as we go into the latter half of the next week. There will be some dry days, but it is not to say that we have come to the end of this unsettled period. Mr Burkill added, there has been quite a lot of unsettled weather recently. The heaviest has generally been across southern parts, moving in the near continent across the Channel and into the UK. However, from July, the temperatures are expected to soar once again. A welcome break from the grey skies and thundery showers we've seen for the past few weeks. News weather charts based on GFS model data turned dark red on July the 1st and show a new warm front sweeping into the Azores, with the high pressures coming from France and covering most parts of the UK, including Essex. A similar pattern also emerged across southern and eastern England, which encompasses Essex, with high pressure drifting and boosting temperatures to 24 Celsius, 75.2 Fahrenheit. News weather said on the start of July, there is a signal of pressure to become relatively high to the east of the UK, which may result in rather warmer weather establishing, especially in the east of Britain. The winds blowing from the south or the southwest and potentially for thundery outbreaks. There you go. That's what we've got looking forward to. Start of July. This is absolute provocation to my ears. A head teacher. How could someone not acknowledge a head teacher? Essex crime. Former Wickford paedophile head teacher banned from profession forever. Alex Martin, formerly known as Daniel Chapman, was jailed for his crimes in 2019. Alexander Martin, formerly known as Daniel Chapman, will never teach again. A former Essex head teacher who is already serving prison time for his crimes has been banned from teaching following a conduct panel held by Teaching Regulation Agency TRA. Listen to this metropolitan lunatic asylum kid. It's horrific. Alexander Martin, formerly known as Daniel Chapman, head teacher at Hilltop Primary School in Wickford, Essex. In November 2019, he was jailed for 2.5 years for a series of horrific crimes, including having indecent images of children on his phone. He was also put on a sex offenders register for 10 years, given a 10-year sexual harm prevention order, and banned for teaching for life. Earlier this month, the TRA held a panel to discuss Martin's future in teaching. Following a panel, a TRA judge declared that Martin, who had changed his name, should be banned from teaching indefinitely. The hearing decided that due to the level of trust members of the public place in teaching staff in society, crimes of such nature were obviously tightly connected to Martin's line of work. The offences Martin was found guilty of were very disturbing and directly involving children. Even though the offences weren't related to anyone at schools he was teaching at, the panel decided that Mr. Martin's behaviour in committing these offences plainly engaged public and child protection issues. It had the potential to impact on safety or security of members of the public. Bluntly, the panel stated. In short, Mr. Martin is a convicted paedophile. The report published by the TRA heavily criticised Martin's actions, especially how they related to his position as a head teacher. It reads, his conduct ran counter that what should have been at the very core of his practice as a teacher with a duty of care towards children. It was notable that Mr. Martin was the designated safeguarding lead for the school. Mr. Martin clearly failed in his duty to act as a role model. By virtue of his position, Mr. Martin was also in a position of trust and responsibility. He had abused that position. Following a hearing, Mr. Martin has been banned from teaching in any capacity ever again. When he leaves prison, he won't be able to school, sixth form, college, relevant youth accommodation or children's homes in England. Neither will be able to apply to retrain as a teacher. It shouldn't, in my eyes, someone that has caused a conviction as such as horrific as that should never, ever be able to step a foot in humanity again. Maybe, if they do want to go about, mental health thing, why don't you stick them all on the same island? Stick them all on the same island. Let them live all on the same island. All the paedophiles live in the same island together. Don't let them go back out to humanity. I'm not a fan of letting someone as horrific, poisoned like that back into humanity ever again. I'd let them be locked up in prison or tortured. But like I say, we don't know their mental health. There's no excuses for these reptiles. There's no excuses for these reptiles. They shouldn't be allowed back into normality ever again. They need to stick them on somewhere, a little island where there's no children, just paedophiles. Stick them out in ISIS. No, it's not fair on ISIS because they got families and children over there. But that's the sort of territory they need to get. A little island like that where they can just, I don't know, shoot each other, live off each other's flesh for all we care. We don't want them in sane humanities. What is sane nowadays? But you know what I mean. You know where I'm coming from. COVID in Scotland. Sturgeon to confirm delay to lockdown easing. Nicola Sturgeon is expected to confirm a delay to the easing of COVID-19 restrictions in Scotland later. The First Minister signalled last week the move to level 0, the lowest in the 5-tier system, was likely to be pushed back by 3 weeks. Originally set for 28th of June, it could be delayed until at least mid-July, so more people could be vaccinated. Ms Sturgeon has also promised to publish as much anticipated review of the social distancing rules. She's expected to give an indication of what life could look like once a country has transitioned to level 0 and beyond. While large parts of Scotland moved into level 1 earlier this month, and some islands went down to level 0, many parts of the central belt remain in level 2, where there are stricter limits on the size of groups that can meet. The First Minister has previously indicated that it is unlikely any area would move down a level on the 28th of June. Instead, she suggested the current level of restrictions to remain until July the 19th, the same date Prime Minister Boris Johnson has targeted as a terminus for England's lockdown restrictions. In Wales, lockdown rules are being reviewed again on 15th of July, while the next planned easing in Northern Ireland is set for the 5th of July. Ms Sturgeon is expected to update SNPs in a statement to the Scottish Parliament in Holyrood at about 2:20 BST on Tuesday. Confirmed cases in a 7-day stretch here. We've got from Monday, September 1st. No, I'm not even going to read that out because that's not even a 7-day pull up. Not at all. The number of COVID cases in Scotland has been steadily rising since early May. Another 1,250 new COVID cases was reported in Scotland on Monday, 7.2% of all the new tests taken. Figures show that 158 people in hospital with recently confirmed case of COVID, with 14 of those needing intensive care. Ms Sturgeon said last week that the reason was likely pause in easing restrictions was to buy sufficient time for vaccination to get ahead and stay ahead of the virus. Doing that will give us the best chance later in July of getting back to track and restoring a much greater normality that we all crave, she added. By Monday morning, 3,647,437 people in Scotland have received the first dose of COVID vaccination, with 2,586,970 having received their second dose. Ms Sturgeon said on Friday that all adults in Scotland should have been offered a first dose of the vaccine by the end of the week, and all adults who have received the first dose by 18th July, almost 2 weeks ahead of schedule. The likely delay of ending restrictions has already been criticised by the hospitality industry, which has warned of the potential of another lost summer. Members of the Scottish travel industry will also lobby both Hollywood and Westminster Parliaments this week, urging greater support. On Monday, they sent an open letter accusing the First Minister of banning them from operating, other than in the name only, with impractical COVID rules. Before her latest COVID statement on Tuesday, Ms Sturgeon will face topical question at Holyrood from Scottish Conservatives MSP Graham Simpson, asking on what basis the government has introduced a ban on non-essential travel between Scotland and Manchester and Salford. Ms Sturgeon defended the ban on Monday after an angry reaction from Greater Manchester's Mayor, Andy Burnham. She insisted it was a public health measure based on COVID levels in the area. Mr Burnham condemned the fact he was given no advance warning of the travel ban and called on the Scottish Government to compensate those who are now out of pocket. We're going to have a short break, guys. Make sure you stay tuned because it's going to be a nice break. We're going to have a bit of we're going to have a little bit of LBC in the background while I just go for a quick drink. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Purple Panda. Lovely to see you in the building. Marish, Harish, Slow Lane, Texas, Ray, Amy Wagner, Lionel Vignes, Billy P, and everyone else that is tuned in, and all my YouTube listeners as well. I'm not going to say fans because you're not fans. We're just observant people that like, we like facts, don't we? We like to listen to facts, what's going on in the tabloid. We've got Shelley Foggett for a short break. We all like a bit of Shelley Foggett. Shelley Foggett. Come on, Shelley. What does it sound?
What people actually want are solutions. Now, when I was education secretary, did recognise that there was this issue in towns, not just towns though, Sheila, but also rural areas, places like Cambridgeshire, Somerset, where you have fantastic talent, but an education system that simply wasn't looking like it was able to develop it properly. What we did in 12 areas around the country was an approach called opportunity areas that recognised that if you were going to improve results in schools, it wasn't just about what the teachers were doing with the students. It was also going to have to focus on those other things outside the school gates that we know also make a difference. You talked about aspiration. That's another piece of this as well. So the opportunity areas were working inside schools, but also then mobilising local communities, local authorities, local businesses, the NHS. For example, in one opportunity area, which was Bradford, they found out that children had the wrong glasses prescriptions in hundreds of cases and got that fixed. So simple solutions, but ones that could be found at a local level. And then also recognising that if you're in Bradford, it was one sort of challenge that's very different to what it was in Cambridgeshire, which was very different to what it was in Scarborough, where teacher recruitment was a huge problem. So actually all these different opportunity areas focused on their local priorities, but then crucially with help from the DfE. So I had my DfE officials on the ground working with these teams on one plan, rather than it being top down, we all owned it. And that's why they've actually seen some real results. So their rates of improvement on literacy and numeracy have been ahead of those of the rest of the country because they've really got to grips with not just what another community needs fixing on education, but what their particular community needed fixing in a way that's been able to bring lots of different people involved.
And all power to those involved, because it suggests that, it's easy to describe the education system as very sort of homogenous, when in fact it can, under the surface, behind the doors, be very bespoke for where it needs to be, can't it? And that's what you're describing.
Yeah, and that's what I realised going into the DFE is we should probably be quite surprised when you do these big national projects and then they land in different communities in different ways. What you needed to do was have a national approach, but done in a way that local communities could really own and tailor. And instead of it just being devolution, where sometimes the government hands over money, hands over power, and then washes its hands, I wanted an approach where I, as Secretary of State, would sign off that plan and own it every bit as much as the local communities we were trying to work in. And I think for many teachers, it just decluttered their lives because we had one agreed set of priorities. We could focus on that. And actually, several years later, they're really bearing fruit. Although, to be frank, these were long-term pieces of work to address long-term challenges that, as this select committee have said, have happened over decades. They are already showing results, but they've got a lot longer and further to go, frankly, if they're really going to crack the problem.
And when Robert Halfon, the committee chairman, who I'm sure you know well, and nobody doubts his commitment to education and to children, but by any stretch of the imagination, he's described what he found as his committee found as a major social injustice. And he also pushes back against those who say this is about poverty, this is about social class, it's not about skin colour. When you dig down into how white, poor boys are performing, is any of it about skin colour? Is any of it about more than just poverty, in your view?
I just feel like those labels, in a sense, of things like white privilege, just end up in a big debate that actually puts in the divisions and doesn't actually get you onto a measured, thoughtful discussion about what we know the solutions are. And in different parts of the country, there are very different challenges. I'm sat in London right now. We have better schools, but they're not universally good enough for every single child in this city. Young people connecting up to opportunity is often far harder for kids growing up, say, a quarter of a mile down the road from me on the Alton estate. They haven't got a chance of getting a job in the city. A lot of those companies are far too close to the diverse city we're in. So basically, every part of the UK has its own levelling up challenges. They're often different. But I think what the committee is right about is for too many communities, and they often are broadly white working class communities, not exclusively by any means, but often they are. Education is this stumbling block that young people hit even before they've got to the chance of trying to
is that cultural, I wonder? And by that I don't mean working class. I'm from a working class white family. There's no. It's not about saying working class white families don't care about their children's education. But I wonder, is there something cultural going on around poorer working class white families where there's, say, generational unemployment, where something has just killed stone dead the sense that education is in fact your way out of that situation? That was certainly what I was surrounded by when I was growing up, that education was everything.
I think it's a really good point. And I think part of this may well be that if you're growing up in a vibrant city where there is lots of opportunity on the doorstep, as I said, the challenge in places like London is you can't actually access it, but you can see what's there. You can see what you might want to aim for. By contrast, for example, I grew up in Rotherham. I never met a lawyer. I had no idea what law was about. I'd never met anyone who ran a business, let alone someone who'd set one up. And so, in a sense, my horizons of what I might aim for were really, when I look back on it, very narrow. It's really hard for kids to aim for an opportunity that they don't even know exists. Yeah. And that's where the lack of aspiration perhaps comes from. It's more to do with the fact that there aren't enough high quality, varied careers on the doorstep to really fire these young people up about why they need to get educated. And actually, when I was at the DFE, I had a team go on the ground to Kettering to look at why we couldn't shift education results in Kettering further, faster. What was it about this area that had meant they'd never quite got better? Part of it was just that the local economy had a lot of relatively low-skilled jobs. So actually, there wasn't really that economic pressure for schools to turn out higher-skilled young people. And also, the other challenge for Kettering is it was never quite at the bottom of any league table. So when you were sat in Whitehall thinking, right, where do we need to focus our attention?
You go to the bottom.
They never quite made it onto the list, unfortunately. And so I think what it tells you is that levelling up is a challenge for the whole country, not just the north. You saw in the report today, it flagged up places like Kent, East Sussex, Gloucestershire, Worcestershire, Oxfordshire, all sorts of places that you wouldn't necessarily expect. But basically everywhere in this country needs its own levelling up plan. And for many of those places, it starts with education.
And I was interested to see what this report says about so-called social capital. So, I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, there were places to go. There were sports facilities at easy reach. There were library facilities at easy reach. There were summer play schemes at easy reach. You were able to develop friendships. You were able to deal with adults of all kinds of different shapes and sizes and reasons for being in your life, and you develop social capital that way, and ability, communication ability, all sorts of stuff goes on when you've got that happening. Now, to me, it seems that is undersold in our education system, undersold in our politics, social capital, the so-called soft skills, which are dismissed often too quickly.
I totally agree, and I've said for some time that I think the education system is far too narrowly focused on academics. Academics really matter, but they're part of what a young person needs to develop if they're going to be successful. And I now work with a lot of very different companies, getting them to look beyond maybe the usual bit of the talent pool that they get their talent from, and look beyond into some of these very communities. But they now increasingly recognise that actually the kinds of skills often young people are building up, growing up in perhaps more disadvantaged communities, having to get over problems, really bounce back from challenges, actually makes them very, very resilient. And those are qualities that really stand them in good stead. But the wider piece around teamwork, project solving, that you get from sports, from arts, but also exposure to culture, the chance to do work experience, which we know tends to go to more privileged young people, all of these, if you like, help develop a wider young person, and they are absolutely crucial. So if we're really going to have a levelling up strategy that puts education at its heart, you're right that we do need to look beyond pure academics to this broader development that young people need.
Justine Greening, thank you for joining us today, former Education Secretary and founder of the Social Mobility Pledge. What I want to know from you, it'd be great to hear from teachers. I know it's a bad time of day for teachers when I'm on air, but what I know from you as a teacher or a parent, what I want to know from you as a teacher or a parent, perhaps especially a parent, when it comes to your child's education, their school, what is the deficit? What's getting in the way of it? Is it a lack of ambition? Do you, as the parent of if you're a working class white parent, do you regard your child's colour as a factor in anything to do with their education being delivered to them well or not? Is it about facilities? Is it both in the school and outside the school? Is it about teaching standards? I know that supply teachers and the coming and going of different teachers, and teachers who are geography teachers having to teach French and all the rest of it in schools which are under pressure from recruitment, lack of ability to recruit teachers. I know that's a problem for a lot of you. What's getting in the way, do you think, of your child's education? Does it have anything to do with the colour of their skin? 0345 6060 973. The number to call is 216.
This is LBC.
When you're serving Joe Freezy, but your drink choice is lazy.
Let there be fruit.
Wait, who are you?
I'm just a kid interrupting a family dinner with a fruity bottle of Robinsons.
Oh, okay. Where were we? When you're trying to learn French, but your thirst is unquenched.
Let there be fruit.
When you're out loving life with the sun beaming down, or you're dancing to the radio and there's nothing zesty to be found. When your water tastes like, water.
Let there be fruit. Liven up your water with Robinsons.
Over 50 million pillows sold worldwide. Guaranteed the most comfortable night's sleep or your money back with a 10-year warranty. Buy one My Pillow, get one free. Yes, it's backed by popular demand. Buy one pillow, get one free when you use promo code SLEEP. Hurry, buy one, get one free, limited to first 500 orders daily. Ends June 30th. Visit mypillow.co.uk and use promo code SLEEP.
My pillow.
Startups. Right now, it's hard to know where to start. Well, at Metro Bank, we know that business people need people. People like our local business managers.
Hello.
Who have your back as you go into business, offering business insights, financial guidance, and introductions to your local business community. So, open your business account in minutes. Download our mobile banking app, and we'll take you from
Stay tuned,
startup
guys.
to
I'll
up
be with you
and
in a few
running.
minutes. Have a short
Metro
break.
Bank.
Drink
People
tea.
banking.
There we go.
Can the all-electric Ford Mustang Mach-E change the game?
Watch me.
Can it cross the country on a single charge?
Watch me.
Get tech updates automatically at any time?
Watch me.
Learn the way you like to ride?
Watch me.
Can it charge over a quick espresso?
I got it.
The all-electric Ford Mustang Mach-E with up to 379-mile range.
Oh, I'm super bad.
To find out more, search Mustang Mach-E.
Watch me.
Ford. Bring on tomorrow. Estimated range available on selected models.
Watch me.
At Tesco, we know it's been a tough year, so relax, ease into summer, and have yourself a barbecue with pre-marinated meat where all that's needed is succulent chicken breasts marinated in mango, coconut, and lime juice. Delicious pork loin steaks glazed with sticky maple syrup. Bring a world of exciting flavours to your grill with the Fry Coat Barbecue range exclusively at Tesco. Every little helps. Available in the majority of larger stores while stocks last.
And then they all lived happily ever after. The end.
Night, Dad.
ISBN number 0130-998634. Cover photograph by...
Like getting
Here
your
we
money's
go,
worth.
ladies and gents.
Enjoy our.
Thank you for staying observed and both preserved. It's very, very important to us that you stay on, stay in tuition. What's going on? I can't etiquette and style pragmatic with sense. I'm optimistic and both flamboyant. I've got quite high IQ, haven't I? Absolutely. I'm walking, talking human faculty. Understand human biology. Understand politics very, very well. Talking about sociological change. When we were children, your parents, as a kid, they struggled financially, didn't they, to bring us up. You're in a suburban area, not getting the response at school that you need to get the grades that you need to get in school, to get into university, to where I'm sitting today. Poor white pupils let down and neglected. MPs have suggested. Absolutely. Like I said, you live in a suburban area, like living in a council house, surrounded by other council kids, mothers and fathers struggling, usually by alcoholism or narcotics. Not all mothers. My mother and father definitely weren't. I don't know how you was brought up. I like to think I was brought up quite a nice family, nice surrounding. We all had a bit of a struggle for our kids in them areas. I was in them surrounded by them areas, unfortunately. Not in my first few years at school. I was in a lovely village of Thorpe Soak, and I went to Wolf School, Church of England primary school. Very, very hard to get education there because you have to be quite smart. I was always quick witty, but my intelligence didn't develop till latter in life, unfortunately. Why working class pupils have failed by decades of neglect in England's education system, a report by MP says. Knowing that teachers as well, lack of knowledge, teachers having poor schools, lack of tuition that you get because of the response of the other children being naughty in school. Children breaching ASBO kids that just don't want to learn, just go in to be naughty. The Education Select Committee accused the government of the lack of targeted support for disadvantaged white pupils. It says use of the term white privilege, suggesting white pupils are at an advantage, is the opposite of the reality for pure white pupils. I think in education, I'm not sticking up for the other less minority, but if you come from different minority ethnic background, such as you could come from Holland or France, Spain, you're learning two different languages. You already got that. You're already that far-fetched, educated student in England because you speak two languages. The pupil teacher is going to take the light on the shine of the pupil coming through that can speak both languages, going to pick up things more quicker. So the white pupil gets neglected, exactly what it says on the tin. The government says it is committed to making sure no child is left behind. The report warns that white pupils on free school meals underachieve from early years in schools through to GCSE, A-levels and university entry compared with pupils on free meals from other ethnic groups. It's swept under the carpet. Committee Chairman Robert Harfan said it was a major social injustice that so little has been done to address this gap in attainment, and accused the government of muddled thinking in suggesting it could be explained by poverty. If you think it's about poverty, then it doesn't explain why most other ethnic groups do much better, he said. Exactly. Poor white pupils are falling behind every step of the way, he warned. And with almost 1 million young people have been affected, it could not be swept under the carpet. Is there a lack of encouragement for white pupils? What is it? I think so. Because I think we're stepping on eggshells with I don't want to become fascist or, get on the xenophobia mark here, but where it's put in your face all the time, maybe the teachers are they've been embedded in school, aren't they, to make sure they support the different minority groups before their own white pupils as well. That might cover a lot of the privilege into it. Absolutely. At GCSE in 2019, 18% of white British pupils on free meals achieved grade 5 in English and maths, compared with 23% for the average for pupils on free meals. For university entry, 16% of white British pupils on free meals get places, compared with 59% of black African pupils on free meals, 59% of Bangladeshi pupils on free meals, and 32% of black Caribbean pupils on free meals. That is a substantial disadvantage in white pupils. That is quantitative evidence. Do you know what quantitative evidence? When they have the marks, they talk amongst their schooling years and find out the percentage of the pupils. Quantitative evidence. White privilege. Mr. Harfan warned against using the term white privilege in education, saying it was divisive and likely to promote disharmony and pits one group against another. The committee described white privilege, which has been used in a wider social context, as the idea societal privilege that benefits white people over other ethnic groups. The committee said that in education, privilege is very opposite to what disadvantaged white children experience, and questioned whether under equality legislation, schools should use that terminology. But a Labour MP on the committee, Kim Johnson, rejected the reference to white privilege as a red herring, which was trying to stoke the cultural war and avoid scrutiny of the lack of investment in schools and local communities, while poor white people's falling behind. The report highlighted a mix of changes about the social areas where many poor white pupils lived, and also cultural factors that could limit how much support they got from their families. These underlying social problems include poor local jobs market and lack of opportunity, lack of community assets and social organisations, poor local services and transport, families with generational poverty, disengaged parents with poor experience of education. In response, the committee proposed more targeted funding and making the educational system feel more relevant for these communities. Using people premium funding to provide more support, family hubs to get parents involved with children's learning, attract teachers to areas that can struggle to retain staff, ensure that work-related vocational education is available, to find a better way to talk about racial disparities. This is Proclamation News and Gavins, ladies and gents. You are now listening to the prominent Professor Johnson at P&G. Thank you so much for staying tuned. We've got a little way to go yet, about another 20 minutes. Pupil view, that's not for me attitude. Oliver is planning to go to university and warns about stereotypes being created about white working class teenagers. There is nagging feeling that is not for me, says 18-year-old Oliver Jones Lyons, describing the suspicions about the value of education that he thinks hold back some white working class communities. He has been a pupil on 3 meals at a school near Newcastle and says there is still concern about the education system harbouring snobbery and class prejudice, even down to stereotypes about regional accents, which mark you out as different. There's an inclination to turn away from exams and instead say, my dad can get us a job. There's a lack of explanation of how education is helping you, Oliver says. But he urges the biggest barriers to education are outside education, in places with limited job opportunities, bad housing, poor public transport, and families not able to support their children in school. And he says that's why he describes himself as a white working class boy. He doesn't like the way the label is being used to create more stereotypes. It shouldn't be about putting people against each other or about culture wars, he says, and rejects the white working class identity, but caricatured and being bigoted or narrow-minded. A better description would be people more likely to undersell ourselves and dislike showing off, says Oliver. But his own ambition has been supported by the working with Social Mobility Foundation charity, and is a wait and see if he gets the A-level grades needed to get into Oxford University next year. Schools can't do it alone. The underachievement is down to the poisonous mix of place, family and local culture, said Chris Zariga, director of the schools in North East, a regional network on head teachers in one of the areas with the biggest concentrations of disadvantage of white pupils. He said it means tackling the consequences of long-term deprivation, where there might be 5th and 6th generations of workless families. Schools can't do it alone, he said, warning that already the pandemic had seen schools having to cope with feeding and clothing pupils. We need a cross-party sense of urgency about solving these problems, he said. Mr. Zariga backed the targeted use of the pupil premium funding and called for better ways of retaining teaching staff in the most challenging areas. Parenting view, not a lot of opportunity. The report argues that the vocational routes in education need to be clearly available, showing a connection between qualifications and work. The child were concerned of Kerry and mother of Mansfield, who is thinking about what jobs will be available for her sons Bailey and Finley in the years ahead. Her own parents stepped down from school and factory work, which she says offered secure jobs. The current world of employment seems more precautious, she says. I don't see good jobs arising. I don't think there's much opportunity out there, says Kerry. I want them to go to college, then get apprenticeships. The aim is guaranteed work, and she is worried about the cost of university. As a parent, I wouldn't be able to fund them to go, Kerry adds. I just want to give a shout out to parents that want to get their kids into university. There's funding, there's loans you can get. You don't have to pay the loans back until you start earning over £60,000 a year. So you make sure that your child gets the education it needs to get where your child needs to get in life. It's very, very important that your child gets the education. You don't want your child to be in the same prosperity as you. You know, you might be living the best life you can as a parent, but there's no reason why your child can't have a better opportunity, better aspirations. You know, when they get that chance in life, you grab it with both hands and work your socks off. Your aspirations, your goals will leave wisdom for your own children in years to come. So make sure your child gets every opportunity it can. Living up without taking that underachievement of white people, working class pupils, with the wider aim of knowing the attainment gap between rich and poor will fail. Warned former Ofsted chief Sir Michael Wilshaw. 2/3 of children on free school meals live in these communities, We will never reduce educational inequality unless we urgently address this long-standing issue, he said. Labour's shadow education secretary, Kate Green, said that MP's report showed the Conservative Party has turned its back on the pupils who need most support, from not only underfunded free children places in early years to cutting the pupil premium. A Department of Education spokesman said the government is focused on levelling up opportunities so that no young person is left behind. That's why we are providing the biggest uplift to school funding in a decade, added the DfE spokesman, with $3 billion in recovery fund and assisting plans to increase school budgets. The pupil premium is expected to increase to more than 2.5 million this year, through which schools can support pupils with extra teaching, academic support, or activities like breakfast clubs or educational tips. Sociological change makes a big impact on your child's, broaden their horizon, absolutely. Their aspiration, their goals, their gains they want to get in life. You need to make sure that sociological difference in your environment when you live is safe. Look at the criminal activity in your constituency of the area where you live. Is it fit for purpose of your children's upbringing? That's what you need to find out before you think about moving, before you think about getting your first house for your kids' education. Mum and daughter drug dealers smile for the cameras after walking free from court. Clearly, you did not have quite a flourishing cannabis supply operation. The things you need to look at: what is the criminal activity in the area you live? What is your children getting up to after school activities? Where is your child hanging out? Do you need to make that change for the better of your child's well-being? That's what you need to think about. A drug dealing mum and daughter duo who were caught supplying cannabis from their BMW were pictured smiling and laughing outside court after being spared jail. Sharon Chapman, 47, and her daughter Lauren, 25, were arrested by police after they were spotted selling drugs in Coventry on August the 12th last year. Officers pulled over Lauren's car outside her Leicestershire village home and discovered her cannabis in the central compartment worth over £1,000. They were arrested and had their properties searched, where a further stash of cannabis was discovered, as well as £1,150 cash. The court heard how Lauren and her mother herself were able to afford to buy a BMW despite being unemployed as a result of the scale of her drug dealing operation. The mother and daughter went on to admit possessing cannabis with intent to supply, but were spared jail at Warwick Crown Court on Monday. After the case, blonde Lauren, who wore a pink crop top and black leggings, could be seen broadly grinning for the cameras alongside her mum outside the court. Earlier, Mr. Recorder Freeman has told young mum Lauren how she narrowly avoided jail and was spared for the sake of her daughter. He said clearly he did not have quite a flourishing cannabis supply operation, although I accept it was to friends and acquaintances. It was clear your role falls into the significant class and you deserve to go to prison for 12 months. But I'm not going to send you down because of two things. One is your daughter, who you're looking after, and the other is that very sensibly you are not contesting where the prosecution put you. Addressing Sharon, he added, clearly you have been quite a heavy user of cannabis over the years, but this was, as far as we know, your first contact with dealing. You were with your daughter, who had brought you into it. Lauren of Stoke, Golding, Leicestershire, was sentenced 12 months in jail, suspended for 2 years and ordered to undertake 120 hours of unpaid work. Sharon of Stoke, Coventry, was handed a 12-month community order, and both were ordered to take part in rehabilitation activities and pay £425 in costs. The court heard that the pair were caught after police received information that the occupants of the BMW had been involved in the exchange of drugs. Prosecutor Fergus Campbell said officers found a plastic bag containing 138 grams, 5 ounces of herbal cannabis, which commonly sells for £10 a gram on the street. If Sharon's home officers found 3 cannabis plants at Quality Street tin with cannabis in it, as well as a box, another tin and 2 bags with cannabis in them. Another good thing to educate children not to get involved in any narcotic activity distribution. It's very, very important that we educate the youth of today, isn't it? Absolutely. Things that we've been talking about today, road incidents, all the criminology throughout the UK that police have to get themselves involved day in, day out. Look, police safety, when they do their camp, they're checking for speed cameras, people driving safe. They've got their speed cameras out the side of the road, or they're attending an incident, or they're just harbouring a road, making sure the traffic are driving safely because there's been new works going on the road. All kinds of stuff that police get involved in day out that we don't take our hat off enough for what work they do. So when you pay your council tax, if it's very little sum or big sum, pay it with a smile, because the hard work they do day in, day out, and the NHS, what they do as well, it is absolutely phenomenal. Especially, the doctors alone, what they have to put up with. We've got COVID patients going in. We get frustrated, we get through to fine, but try and be polite. Being polite gets you a long way in life. But don't be over polite where people try and overcompensate your niceness and take it for weakness. You need to have a subtle ground of niceness towards some people. At Lauren's address, they found 1,150 in cash and a box of cannabis, scales, grinder, and a roll of small plastic bags. She claimed the cannabis was all the personal use, saying she bought a large quantity in one go because she had trouble getting hold of it. But messages on her phone showed she had been dealing to 33 individual customers and that she had previously made a bulk 5-ounce purchase of the drug. Sharon also claimed the cannabis found at her home was for personal use and she smoked 7 to 8 grams a day. She also said she run out because the cannabis at her home was of shocking quality and unfit to smoke. Mr. Campbell suggested Lauren was a significant role because the dealing with her own concern. He said Sharon was aware of the nature and scale of her daughter's operation. He added she would have been aware of the lifestyle of her daughter, who would aim to afford a BMW and accumulate a large amount of cash despite being unemployed. Beth Croker, defending Lauren, said she dealt to friends and associates who she knew on social basis and had traded the Mini to buy a BMW, which was not funded by supplying drugs. She claimed to be dealing to support an Abbey, and the cash was money she had saved and which belonged to her daughter, for whom she was the sole carer. Miss Croker added, she says this case has been such a shock to her. She has been petrified at the outcome. The case has been a real wake-up call to her. Tim Banks, defending mum Sharon, says she's aware some of the cannabis would be supplied by her daughter to others, but she was no benefit or reward for Sharon herself. There you go, a lesson learned. Don't be a necessity of your children's actions. Absolutely. Last but not least, the Windrush Day. Windrush is the big thing in the black community. For Avril Nanton and Jodie Burton, it was important that a new guidebook covering London's black history was released on Windrush Day. It's something that we are very glad to have as black people. Avril explained Windrush is the big thing in the black community. The pair are both Dominican heritage. Their parents have travelled to London as part of the Windrush generation. Jodie was born in East London and her parents moved over in the late 1950s. My mum was a teacher in Dominica in a small school and my dad was a jeweller, but they had to take lesser jobs. The streets weren't paved with gold. It was really, really hard work. They did face a lot of prejudice, she says. As for Avril, she was born in Dominica in 1965 at the age of 7, flew alone to the UK, where she joined her mother, whom she had not seen for 5 years. It was a bit of a shock. For first thing she did was make me put on a coat, because you're thinking you're coming to the Caribbean where it's lovely and warm, and you're wearing this thin dress, and you arrive and think, my God, it's cold here. The pair met on the Run by Abbey, which takes place on London Black History. 3 years ago, they began to work on Black London history, art and culture in over 120 places. The book tells the stories of key figures and events across the centuries, many of which are marked by statues, plaques and memorials across the capital. Subjects covered include people and events in the 16th century like John Blank and trumpeter in Henry VIII courts. The modern day and Black Lives Matter moment. We felt the book like this was needed, says Avril. We decided to turn it into a guidebook because we realised there weren't any guidebooks available, non-Black history guidebooks anyway. The book comes a year after the death of George Floyd, with a consecutive growth of Black Lives Matter movement. Something Jodie believes has ignited many people's interest in the past. At the moment, there's a big discussion debate about history, and I think it really is time for there to be more inclusive history, which tells stories, really for that history and not just a narrative, she says. However, neither agrees with calls to remove statues of controversial figures, as happened with the monument of slave trader Edward Colston in Bristol last year. For me personally, as statues are my living, if you take them down, it means I don't know about them. I can't talk about them. I have no history about them, explains Avril, who runs business, giving guided tours covering Black history in London. I don't even think they should go into museums, because if they're in a museum and I don't know about them, I can't talk about them. She believes a statue should stay up with something to provide context about the figure. It's important to know what person did, how it worked, what they're all about, she says. Jodie agrees with the need to people and more rounded knowledge of the past, something she hoped for their book will provide. You can't tell part of the story and not all of the story. So it's really just been inclusive. You just hope people will learn. I mean, I learn a lot. There's a lot I didn't know. Plus, there's a lot we're still discovering, he says. Black London history, art and culture in over 120 places is released on Tuesday. We're going to have a little listen to the Windrush Day. Bear with me today. It's the end of the show, but just stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to our channel.
I think Windrush Day is important because it celebrates difference. And we celebrate our races and our different colours of skin. People are being accepted for who they are. From Trinidad, Jamaica, Australia, that travelled on the Windrush ship and came to London to help improve our society and make our lives better today.
I'm Baroness Flowella Benjamin, and I'm here at Somerset House. It has a wonderful exhibition about Windrush. 71 years ago, a ship called the Empire Windrush came to Britain, and it had over 600 passengers from the Caribbean who were invited to help rebuild Britain after the war. In the Caribbean, we learned all about British history, about British poets, British scientists, British adventurers. So we knew everything about Britain. But when I came to England, I didn't even know where Trinidad was. Those Windrush pioneers suffered a great deal of rejection and prejudices when they arrived, but they were resilient and they fought really hard to find a life here in Britain, even though they felt rejected. The Prime Minister, Theresa May, asked me to try and find a location for a monument millions of people will be able to see. The location of the monument is going to be on the concourse of Waterloo Station, because many people, when they arrived in London, came from Southampton Docks by train to Waterloo Station. So from now on, the 22nd of June will be Windrush Day. Isn't that exciting?
There you go. I just want to give a praise to the Windrush community. You know, sometimes we don't take a hat off enough. I know we get a prejudice on the ex-phobe, the fascist, and you think to yourself, why is there so much support there? They deserve it. They deserve it. Absolutely deserve it. And you can't only do but take your hat off. We heard it in the education sector, but it's not enough education in the white community because there's lack of morals. Lack of morals. Lack of them wanting to grant wisdom, because the ethnic minority want to come into our community and go to work. They want to get educated. They want to fulfill their aspirations, their dreams. Why can't the white community do the same? We can't just live off welfare. We need to gain our academics, gain our skills to get us our knowledge to get a better job. There you go, ladies and gents. Thank you ever so much. Hope you get some takeaway points. You can better your aspiration in life. Whatever your job you're doing, you're fulfilling now. You're not happy in your job. It's adult learning. You might have to take a massive pay cut and live on government funds to get your education you need. But if you buy and get where you need to be in life from A to B, you need to take sacrifices. To take sacrifices, you got to do the adult learning. You got to do the further education. Change your aspirations. There's change for everyone. I say it day in, day out. If you're suffering alcoholism, narcotics, you want to better your prosperity. You want to be prosperous, running prosperity matters. That's what you got to think all the time. You want to inspire, not expire. You need to make that change. You can make. If I can make that change, you can make that change. 5 years as a professional boxer, living at the end of my tether, because I was living with my demons. I fought for my demons. I got where I needed to get. I wasn't a world champion, but I got the achievements that not many would achieve with my little circumstances I had. So I made and done myself proud, and my family and everyone that followed my journey. If I can do it, you can do it. You can make a change. I've got a lot of underlying conditions after I had secondary Baynard's disease phenomenon before I entered the ethical career that I led. Shouldn't have done it. I had a head injury. Should never have stepped a foot in the ring. But I got to the point in my life I don't want to stand on eggshells no more, because I live in with anxiety, further trauma in my head. I look over my shoulder everywhere I go. I don't like going into big communities. I can't celebrate certain things like a normal person. I can't go out in the cold. There's a lot of things I can't and can do, and I'm not breaking my balls. I'm getting myself educated to get a financial job that's going to lift my prosperity for the rest of my life. So if I can do it, guys, you can do it. So you've got to work hard at it. You know, even universities out there give you the support you need to get you through your courses. So don't give up. You know, if there's a chance for me, there's a chance for everyone. So please push on through, push hard. Tell the teacher what you need. Tell them where you're suffering in life. I got through the first part of my academic year, and I've got a bit of support on my second part of the year. I'm going to hold my hands up. I am not the brainiest spark in the book, but I know a lot about politics. You see me on there day in, day out. I've had a bit of a break. I was in the Isle of Wight, so I do beg my pardon. I had my second vaccine today. Yesterday, I had to get all my university forms over. I've been accepted for the second part of the year. My loan's been sorted, and I've got to pay it back. I've got once I finish university, I want to go out and get a substantial job that I feel comfortable in doing, making sure my house is all nice and secure. I need security up in my house. That's one thing I do need in the future. But guys, make sure you go out and get it. Make that change. Take care. God bless. I hope you had a great show, you listeners, you loyal listeners. I really, really appreciate it. Could please share my live. If you share it in your WhatsApp group or your friends or your family, if you share it on Facebook, just get people to join the community. I want people to come with their day-to-day problems. I could be like a citizen's advice. You've got money problems, where to go, where to turn. You're an alienated mother, father. You've had a breakup in a relationship, a marriage, or you lost a family member. What to do to get through any restraints in life? How do you get through it? Time and forbearance is not just the answer. There's things you can do to keep your mind occupied. But please feel free to call your people on board. On Castbox, you can call in. I'm going to get back on the other app where people can call in on the YouTube channel as well. So you can come live on the screen, talk to me. You know, it could be about car incidents that are occurring, or car incident you've been involved in. You want to know where to turn, where to get help. Why not? I've got the number to get help and support for any car incidents. If you're on a bus and you had a fall on a bus, you need to find out the registration of the bus company. You need to email the bus company, find out the time of the bus, the number of the bus, where the destination was going to, where you got on, and then the company will do the rest and chase up who that driver is on that at that time that you got on the bus. Remember, it's important to remember, because it could be your granddad, it could be your grandmother, it could be your auntie, your uncle, your brother, or your sister going from A to B. Even on a train journey, your life is precious. Make sure you secure your life. Anyway, ladies and gents, thank you all so much for coming through. I appreciate and love each and every one of you. Even if you buy second-hand goods, like a mobile phone or a computer from a shop, it's not giving you money back. You got 6 bums, already. Who'd you call? You call Trading Standards. There's loads of little things I can help you with, you know. Just please don't feel afraid to ask me any kind of question. I might have the answer. Who knows? A problem shared is a problem halved, and I'm here to help. God bless, take care, one love. I think I show enough love for the democracy. Giving out car listings every day. I don't even drive, but I care about the safety of everyone listening in. That's how much I love being a democratic UK citizen. I'll be a good citizen standard of person. When I say I am the prominent professor, I kind of mean it, and I kind of believe it. I think you guys should believe it, because I will achieve it. Anyway, God bless, take care, one love, speak soon. Take care, guys. Have a great week. Thank you, all you loyal listeners on